Welcome back. Dateline New Haven on WNHH-FM, New Haven's home for community radio. I'm Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines, the stories that make our community tick. Abdul Osmanu has been making our community tick for quite a while, and now he's looking to get to the state legislature. He's one of 3 candidates for an open state legislative seat, giving us for the Democratic nomination. So we have this unusual situation in New Haven this year where we have a real contest for a state legislative seat. Welcome back to the studio, Abdul. How you doing, man?
No, I'm doing good. It feels like I was just here yesterday. I remember I was here in like September. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was here earlier too, though. But yeah.
So everything happened all at once. People did not know at the night of a nominated convention for the 94th General Assembly District Deeds, which is Hamden and Lower Hamden, New Hallville, parts of Prospect Hill, that the person in the seat, Robin Porter, who's had a good 10 years, decided she's not running again, and there was a scramble. The party endorsed Steve Winter before primary, but you went out and you're running too, and Carolyn Moore's running. So what are you finding? Are you on the ballot?
Yep. I'm on the ballot. Got official I know I handed in like the signatures when they were due, but I got official confirmation on Friday. And yeah, I think fun fact. So I actually made it like an effort of mine to make sure that like I got just about the same Hamden and New Haven. Okay. Because I know one of the things that is being said is like, how's Abdul going to fare in New Haven whatsoever?
Well, you've been in New Haven. You were campaign manager for Liam Brennan's Democratic mayoral primary last year. Yeah.
And I mean, like many of the same issues that, occur in Southern Hamden oftentimes spill.
Well, we kind of feel like Southern Hamden is New Haven.
Yeah, I actually live like 4 blocks away from being in New Haven.
Do you ever feel like, you ever notice, I think it's Shelton, the street sign suddenly changes? The design of the street sign changes?
Yeah.
That's when you look around and say, okay, I've kind of gone into Hamden, otherwise I wouldn't have known. Yeah.
Yeah, just a slight bit, but yeah.
So how many did you get? How many signatures?
I think I got about like 500. I know that like I stopped turning some of them into Hamden because our registrar was like, cool, you've already got it. You've already got it, dude. Like,
how many did you need?
I needed 321.
Okay. So now you're off and running. When's the primary?
August 13th.
Okay.
So yeah, pretty close.
And so what are you hearing on the doors?
I think mostly what I'm hearing on the doors is really a desire to feel the community heard and seen through one of the big issues that I'm really hearing is like, cool, it's spoken to me as like we need something for the kids, but more like when I'm able to really break that down, it really just translates to cool. We have an education system that we really need to be taking better care of because our the product the end product of our kids being grown adults. Really does hinge on the ability to provide, adequate resosources for them.
So is it fair to say that what you're hearing most, it's also time of year, but most of it's like stuff for kids to do and better schools? Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah. Alongside things such as, housing as well as jobs.
So what do you think about youth stuff? So those are perennial issues.
Yeah.
We're always trying to figure out how to get education better. The legislature just went through a whole period where it ended up pushing phonics-based reading again when that had gone out of favor.
Yep.
We always hear we need more summer programs and rec programs, which is true, and it's also true often people don't know what exists. Mm-hmm. So where are you coming down? What would you be able to do if elected?
Yeah,
so what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think that, heading into this, biennial budget year, there's the opportunity to really seriously work on, educational cost sharing funding. It is something that the legislature has, put a little bit of, work and effort into in the past couple of years where, I know same is true of, New Haven and not really getting what is adequately needed. That like in Hamden, it took many years for us to, kind of at least get close to what we're, mandated to get by the state itself. Where fun fact, when I was like 14, I actually did an AP government, U.S. government project on, the lack of adequate funding to ECS.
Really?
Yeah, I actually...
Well, you taking AP at 14? Did you like skip 2 grades or something?
No, I'm just like, cool. Like my birthday's late, so I would have been 15 that year anyways. But yeah.
So what grade were you in?
I was a sophomore.
Where were you?
Hamden High, yeah.
And tell me about what was the class?
AP U.S. government.
And so your project was ECS funding.
Yeah, I decided to choose that.
That's really interesting. You might have been the only kid maybe in the history of the school who did that project.
I mean, I dragged all my project mates into doing it with me. So yeah.
What made you want to do a project at 14 years old of ECS funding?
It was actually it was this year before, so the summer after that year I actually started to get into politics, but I think what really drove me to get into that was, a desire to look at something, that impacted me locally. which the lack of funding, adequate funding through ECS.
So what did you learn at 14 about ECS? Because I already forget what I learned about ECS every 2 years. I gotta be honest.
Pretty much cool. Sans everything I've learned about it after, my takeaway at 14 was like, cool, there is like a mandated amount of money that the state is supposed to give us by their own formula, that they don't always actually match up to actually giving us in full and total. And as a result, the ability of the school system to offer us certain programs and things is really hampered by that.
And what's your take at, what are you now, 21 or 22?
22.
22. What's your take at 22 running for office about ECS and what you can do about it?
Yeah, I think that, we need to really take a look at like, cool, we are in a financial situation as a state where we're starting to make our way through some of our worst, financial times. And there's like a historic surplus, which like I'm not by all means saying that we should, spend down all of the surplus. But with that, we need to really think about, the adjustment of some fiscal guardrails. If that means, the opportunity to really expand some of what we're able to provide to our, most in need school districts. So I think, my view of ECS is it's a great thing that we should, of course, keep into place. But, heading into future sessions, we really need to begin to look at, how we hold some of our most in need districts whole, whether we're talking about, Hamden or New Haven.
Abdul Osmanu is running for the Democratic nomination for the open 94th General Assembly Street seat. He is August 13th is the primary. So you brought up one of the issues I wanted to ask you about. Mm-hmm. It's the volatility cap. So we had I believe it was 2017, was it, when the legislature had a bipartisan compromise that said, look, every year we either have tons more money than we think or tons less because so much of our money is volatile. So much of our income tax money comes from really wealthy people in Fairfield County who, because of the way finance industry works, sometimes they're paying a lot of tax, sometimes little. They pay quarterly, so there's only so much we'll ever spend when we get in one quarter, and then we're going to put the rest of the money we get in good years into both the rainy day fund for emergencies and paying down our large debt. Mm-hmm. Now, it's brought in a lot more money than we ever thought. Mm-hmm. We can't put more money into the rainy day fund because it's fully there, which is good. Mm-hmm. It was a Republican fiscal conservative who ran for office last time. The governor said, let's take some of that money out as a rainy day. And then we also have been paying down debt. We can always pay down more. And now there's a debate within the Democratic Party, actually. Mm-hmm. The governor against progressives in the legislature who say, no, we don't want to get rid of some of those fiscally conservative measures, but because we did the formula at a time when we thought one set of numbers were going to come in, and now different numbers have come in, there is money we can play with. Is that where you're standing? Yeah,
and I think, some of that understanding also comes from, having served on the council in Hamden, where, we're beginning to make really good strides in making our way out of about like a 30-year, sort of issue that we've had financially and having to pay down our debt. And, just now that we're like making our way out of that, being, mindful of ways that we can, expand what we're able to do as a town and government.
So if you're going to be mindful, you're still going to have to make choices, even if you're not. There's not endless money. So early education, vastly underfunded. Crisis. Higher ed.
Yes.
They're making us act like there isn't even going to be higher ed unless you throw a lot more money in.
I am lucky that I was able to graduate.
So you're going to have to make a choice.
Yeah.
So if you're saying we're not just going to throw out all the fiscal guardrails and just go into deficit spending, what would you prioritize over what among worthy causes?
Yeah, I think, some of the things that I really would prioritize are housing as well as education.
And in education, you're talking both about pre-K-12 and higher ed?
Yeah, and I think with, higher ed, there really is the opportunity to really look to expand certain like partnerships that we have. Where actually, I not too long ago actually was able to take a trip down to Gateway Community College, and I think one of my
right here in New Haven.
Yep. And was able to meet with the president. One of my takeaways really is that we have amazing programs there that we should be able to do more with. Where I found out that we have a public utilities management program there. Where
I didn't know that.
I'm like, save for Wallingford. No municipality in this state has.
But if you guys in DSA ever get in charge, we got to have public power.
Oh, yeah.
That's one thing. We got to rethink that one. We're all getting screwed. Wallingford has had a Republican mayor since like the Stone Age.
Yeah.
And they have a publicly owned utility and they're paying less for electricity than anybody else. And they have fewer brownouts.
Yeah. And I think that's like one of the important things to me where, people are you're like a DSA guy, you're whatever. I'm just like, I agree with the Republican control of the Wallingford. Like, I don't care what.
I'm still trying to figure out how that happened. I think back then maybe it wasn't seen as an either or issue.
Yeah, and I don't see it as that either.
Yeah. So where are you going with this idea that they have a public utilities management course, a gateway is an example of what you discovered there. How does that factor into what you said, expanding on partnerships and making tough budget decisions?
We are training a workforce for, like, we're training folks to enter like a workforce that we haven't even created in Connecticut, which is like absolutely like absurd to me. Because, you know, these people will get, you know, their like public utilities management certifications or like degrees. And there's nothing for them to actually do with that here in Connecticut, unless it's like Wallingford. So that is talent that is probably heading over to another state.
So what would you do?
I think that we need to really think about, you know, creating like I know like at the state level, it's been like talked about, but actually at the council level, because I remember former Councilman Farmer was like thinking about ways that we can push the state level, the General Assembly, to actually allow us to pass a bill to allow for municipalities to, you know, have certain control over their like utilities.
So enabling legislation,
enabling
so
legislation.
we could do public power.
Yeah, because like I know Wallingford was able to do that prior. I think they either got express written consent, or like they were able to do that before, you know, there came in to be
Before the utilities bought the legislature.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just be clear. Okay, Abdul Osmanu is running for the Democratic nomination for the 94th General Assembly district seat in Southern Hamden and New Hallville and Prospect Hill. So what else are you finding on the door? Tell me about a day you've been on the door where someone didn't agree with you and how you navigated that. Because every issue has people on different sides of it, so you're not going to get everyone always agreeing with you.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I really ran into was, you know, someone that, like, I was talking about, you know, a whole host of the issues. They were, like, seeing eye to eye with me on it. Like, I was talking about housing, saw eye to eye with me. I was talking about the environment, saw eye to eye with me. But when I was talking about education, they're like, I don't have kids. Why am I supposed to care about education?
I don't want to pay for those kids.
Yeah. And I mean, like, cool, I don't have kids either. And probably won't anytime soon. But like, I understand, you know, the utility of, you know, a well-funded education system, and what that means for not only like property values, but like the actual, you know, thriving and surviving of the community. Because where people have, you know, access to education, they, you know, you see better life outcomes. And that affects everyone really around them. Whether you're talking
That's why
about
a lot of people moved to Hamden back in the day.
Yes, I'm like, that's why some people still move to Hamden. Even as, you know, you see some of our, you know, more financial issues that we're starting to work out.
So interesting that someone actually said out loud to you that they don't care about better schools.
Yeah, I mean, I think that part of it. It's
usually a hidden attitude.
Yeah, I think I really do understand it though. Because I think that we've, you know, in the way that some of the attitude towards like legislation and legislating that we've seen, where like it feels like multiple groups that are at need are like battling for like really limited resources, that we haven't had, you know, someone really step in to really show the intersectionality of, you know, all these issues and how they can actually benefit us all.
And you talked about housing. Do you have thoughts on something you'd pursue, either someone else's legislation that you'd help champion or new ideas you have about affordable housing? Yeah,
so I know, you know, heading into this current session, you know, there's already a really strong group of folks that are working on, you know, housing across the state. I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with, but I would definitely not be opposed to being, you know, championing causes, whether we're talking about, you know, rent stabilization, just cause evictions. And
those are two big issues that got not super far in the last legislature.
Yeah, which I think those are things that, you know, we still need to really talk about, because
just cause eviction, if I understand it correctly, it's that right now if you're certain groups like seniors, they can't throw you out and your lease is over unless there's a reason, like you haven't been paying or you've been stuffing the toilets or whatever.
Yeah.
But that would extend it to many people, that you can get your lease renewed unless there's a reason. Small landlords push back against that, saying, you know, it's tough to make a living as a landlord. Mm-hmm. You'll be hearing from them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Have you heard from them?
No, I have not heard from them.
You're not going to endorse someone who has like 5 apartments.
Okay, actually, yes, I did talk to one small landlord. And see, this is also why, like, I am like a really big proponent of being honest about what I am running on. Where she vehemently disagreed with me on that. But agreed with me on everything else and was like, cool, I agree with you on everything else. You've got my support.
And did you guys talk about that issue?
Yes, we did.
How did it go?
Where like I pretty much kind of laid it straight, where it's like, cool, like the intent of this really isn't to go after small landlords that, you know, are pretty much just trying to make like a living. It's more so to target corporate landlords. And I think that, you know, that's where, you know, the really work of like, you know, interrogating the minutia of a bill really does come into place to give small landlords like a sort of reprieve or relief, but also not really create loopholes for bad faith actors to really exploit.
At the end of the last session, as you know, Abdul, there was a insert into a bill without debate, a measure to let people on strike for more than a couple of weeks qualify for unemployment benefits. The governor vetoed it. He philosophically didn't agree, I think, but he said it was because it had been debated, been open. Is that going to come up again? Are you going to support it, and why? Yeah,
I would support that. Because, cool. I think that, a worker's right to organize, is one of like the most sacred, things that, I believe in, in the foundation of, this country. Some people, find their heavy philosophies and belief, in the sanctity of, property law and property value. I find it, in making sure that we're protecting people as much as possible. So should workers go on strike, I believe that, they do deserve, the opportunity to, receive unemployment. From the state.
So Democratic Socialist America supported your run for the council.
Yep.
And Working Families Party, which is also pro-labor, have they both endorsed you?
Yeah.
And Lori Sweet is running for the second open seat. She's been involved with you in other political efforts in Hampden. Is she also getting both those endorsements?
Yep, we've both received.
Are you running as a ticket the way you ran for a ticket first time in council as a DSA ticket?
I would say yeah. It's slightly different than that, because of course we're like running in I'm running in New Haven as well, which she is not. So that comes with a little bit of like difference in like how we're going about both of our campaigns, but there is conversations that we have together, and I'm looking forward to like coordinating certain things.
So you've been 3 years on the Hampden Council?
Yep, 3 years.
So how is this campaign different from the ones you run for council and when you were helping your campaign manager, William Brennan, for mayor in New Haven? How has running for state legislature been different specifically?
I think that it's a little different, but also I would say that it really is just a combination of all of those prior experiences into one, where I think that, I really do like to put out my most authentic self with campaigning. I guess it would just be like a matter of like strategy and like how we're like approaching voters and, being really intentful in how we go about things. Because I'm of the belief that, if we are going hard enough on doors and spreading our message and, showing up where we need to show up and in support of community and really, really, like I said, just doubling down on, the message that, cool, we have the opportunity to produce better outcomes for, our neighborhoods, our communities. That like this should be a rather winnable race. Do
you have an event coming on this Saturday, June 30th? Is it
29th?
What is the event? When and where?
So it's a rally that we're having. Lori Sweet and I with assistance.
So a joint rally.
Yeah, a joint rally with assistance from the DSA as well as the Working Families Party. It's pretty much just a rally slash canvas launch. It's sort of a proper kickoff. We both officially got word that we were going to be on the ballot, so we're just looking to get folks excited for this bold audacious vision of change that we both have, and really get ready to spread an amazing message to people.
When and where is it?
It is at 12 p.m. So noon, and it is at Volano Park in Hampden. And the choice for that was, we were trying to pick a place that, was close enough to like the New Haven border. I know I'm probably going to be having, events in New Haven, and those are probably not going to include Lori because she's not running in New Haven. But yeah, I think that's like an example of, sort of coordination.
Do you have an elevator pitch before we let you go? You got 30 seconds. Hey, open my door, but the pot of spaghetti's about to boil over and the kid's diaper needs changing. You got 30 seconds, Abdul. Why should I vote for you?
Yeah, I would say that, I would be asking someone to vote for me as, I not only have like the experience on these issues, I actually have some of like the lived experience that we need and like someone who's going to go up and fight similar to how, Representative Porter did. I'm someone who's, seen what, housing insecurity looks like.
Tell me about that.
So growing up, my parents actually, our home actually almost got foreclosed on when I was like 8 years old. So, it was like a really real experience, having to grow up, knowing that, my parents could come home any day and tell us like,
and
cool.
You're aware of that at the time?
Oh, yes, I was aware of it, which speaks to, the fact that like the ripple effects of, issues such as like
and what
housing.
happened in the end?
Oh, we were actually able to stay in our home through help from like the actual Yale Housing Law Clinic. Yeah.
Well, what do you take from that?
Yeah, I think that, it's really made me like double down on like the idea that, my purpose here in this, in this space of politics really is to help and serve people in the way that I was able to be helped and served.
I'm sorry to interrupt the elevator pitch. It stalled between floors.
Yeah, no
So
problem.
I thought we had a little time to get to the top.
Yeah, it's all good.
Well, thanks so much, Abdul, for coming in
Yep.
on Dateline New Haven. Saturday, noon, Villano Park. Abdul Osmanu and Lori Sweet will be holding a camp rally. Does she have an opponent?
Yes. Her name's Jennifer Pope.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep. Okay, so a Hamden primary is happening. Thanks to Harry Dross behind the controls as always. We're going to take it out with a true cross-district Hamden New Haven group, the Afro-Semitic Experience performing I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free from the group CD A Plea for Peace. This is Paul Bass inviting you to fly free with us all day and all night long at WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio.